BDF 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so man, it is nice and hot already. Well, probably about 90 degrees, and it's not even 1 o'clock yet, so it's only gonna cook from here. I think it gets up to about 95, which in comparison to last summer ain't really that bad. But I didn't come here to talk about the weather. I came here to talk about the Lakers, man. The Los Angeles Lakers, there's a lot of rumors going around about what the Lakers can do, and in regards to either trades to kind of boost our bench, or if there's anything else out there that could potentially show up in the buyout market. And I've been hearing a couple of names, man. I've been hearing some names. Marcus Smart is the hot name out there. The Washington Wizards could potentially be willing to buy him out if they can't get a trade for him. Lakers may see the fruit in possibly making a trade to get him. He's an expiring contract. I'm not sure exactly how much, but we have some expiring contract on some vets that the Lakers would love to dangle in front of Washington to try to get Marcus. The problem is you got to throw something on top of that, because the expired contracts that we have versus Marcus Smart, Marcus is just a more desirable piece. You're talking about Maxi Kleber and Gabe Vincent. The Washington Wizards are a team that's trying to rebuild, bringing young talents to them left and right, getting rid of vets. So the last thing they want to do is bring on 2 vets, even on expiring contracts, because that's what they've been getting rid of. So you're going to have to give them some picks, or a second-round pick, or some type of young talent to make that make any sense to them. And to be honest with you, I don't think the Lakers are in the business of trying to do that at all. So that's what gets in the way of you trading for Marcus Smart. And there may be some hurdles to you getting Marcus Smart if you don't trade him for him. He has to choose the Lakers, first of all, if he gets bought out. There's no guarantee he's going to get bought out, because somebody else may make a trade for him who has more enticing stuff. So if the Lakers can throw on that second-round pick, that may be something Washington would be willing to do. But we don't have many second-round picks left to give. Do we want to give that up for a Marcus Smart rental? You know, at this stage of Marcus Smart's career, it may, if we had a plethora of second rounders, it wouldn't be a deal to worry about. But that you don't have many second rounders could potentially make it a little more difficult to convince yourself that that's what should be done. So I wonder if Marcus Smart is the piece the Lakers are willing to give up a second round pick for, or if it benefits them to go in the second round area of things. And so that's what I'm wondering about. I think at the end of the day, the Lakers do need to get their point of attack defense in order. We must get someone in here who can play some defense at a high level. Marcus Smart has had some injury issues over the last couple of years, but at the end of the day, did win the Defensive Player of the Year about 4 years ago or 5 years ago. So do you think that Marcus Smart is the guy? Maybe. But at the same time, would it benefit you even more so to just allow him to possibly hit the free agent market and try to sign him outright? Like I said, you got a few steps before he lands in your hands. And is this the place he's going to want to go if he has a choice? I think there's really no way of knowing from my standpoint, but I would want to put my ear to the street to hear what his intentions are. That would help me make the decision that I think would be best for my organization if I run the Lakers. If it sounds as if he wants to become a Laker, then obviously you don't make a trade for him. If it sounds like he doesn't want to be a Laker, then you got to wonder if it makes any sense to trade for him then too. So as far as Marcus Smart, I think we're a long way away from really knowing, and I think it really comes down to whether or not you love that second-round pick versus the ability to secure a player that may not actually land with you if he becomes a free agent. So how much do you want this guy? Can you re-sign him if you do get him? Well, if you get him in the buyout market, you can control that by offering him 2 years now or what have you. If you trade for him, you got to negotiate as well. So it's a lot of different hurdles with that player that I'm not really sure how that's going to play out, nor do I have a real feel for what's in an educated guess. I really don't know. But I know he would help our squad. If he's able to get in the type of shape, stay healthy, he can help our squad. But do you expect for him to do that? Based on the injury history as of late, not really, to be honest with you. And that's the concern. Is he going to be injury prone from here on out? I think there's a good chance he could be injury prone from here on out. But I think it's also a decent chance that he can get in great shape and then bring not only a defense to your team, but some playmaking, some backup point guard, which I think is an area of need of ours, and ultimately some dog, some fight, and some character to our team, which I think is very much worth investing in. He's only been in the league for what, 8 years, 9 years? I don't know what his age is. Somewhere probably around anywhere between 28 and 30. So that's my guess. But he may be an old 30 when you consider the mileage on him, the type of talent that he is, playing on the defensive end, kind of a physical player. Doesn't really stretch the floor, although he's shot better as of late. You know, you just have to wonder if he's reached a space in his career where one would have to say he's washed. And so that's really the concern. Are you getting a good version of Marcus Smart, or are you bringing in the idea of Marcus Smart? And if that's the case, then you got to make sure that what you're giving is worth your paying for. So I'd feel more comfortable based on that dynamic, getting him in the buyout market, rather than giving up any type of asset that would ultimately be required to make a trade for him. So that's my point of view. I think he's a rather important piece to what it is we're doing, though, because we do have a fairly shallow team, especially at the guard spot playing defense. He's a bigger body. You can afford to put him on threes at times. So I think that, you know, you find yourself looking at Marcus Smart as a really could potentially be a positive return on investment, given the fact that he had some injury years with the Memphis Grizzlies and had left his situation in Boston, for which you knew that he was wired for. I think there was a lot of an emotional attachment to him being in Boston. So you may have credited some of the struggles to the injury issues and that dynamic. But I also think that at the same time, when you bring him to a situation like the Los Angeles Lakers, it puts him back in a big market situation, storied franchise where he ultimately feels most at home. You know, in Washington, I don't think anybody even knows what he did out there outside of people who were watching the team. And even some of their fans probably weren't watching the team last year, given how bad they ultimately were. So who knows how he was really doing. But at the end of the day, you bring him to the Lakers and it could be a real resurgence for his career. And so I think that would be the selling point for me talking to him about maybe joining the LA Lakers, rather than some of his other options. Sort of like you would look at Bradley Beal and the fit that he would have with the Clippers is kind of what I see for Marcus Smart with the Lakers. They just need what it is that you do. So the role is going to be significantly more substantial with the Lakers than maybe what you've seen in the last couple of situations. So, yeah, it's worth a shot. It's worth a shot. He's not too old to where you feel crazy about that. So, yeah, that's really what it comes down to. I think he would be a potential upgrade to Gabe Vincent and a replacement, so to speak, for Max Christie, of whom we lost in the Luka trade. And so, yeah, that's my point of view on Marcus Smart. I made a video maybe about 6 days ago saying that I think we should try to go after Marcus Smart, and I stand by that. I still think that as well today. So that's really my point of view on the Marcus Smart situation. I think the Lakers should be confident that if they can get him in the buyout market, it'd be a good return on investment based on the role they have for him. So what other names are out there? Herb Jones. I think it's a long shot we get Herb Jones, not without giving up something we don't want to give up. It's a very long shot. Herb Jones of the New Orleans Pelicans. I think they value him very much as a defensive player and of someone who could potentially stretch the floor some, although I wouldn't pick him up for that. An athlete, guy with ridiculously long arms. He would be an excellent point of attack and help side defender, a wing guy for our team, or for any team, really. And you see how important those type of pieces are, especially since you lost out on Dorian. You really do need to kind of address that if you can. So bringing in a guy like that would upgrade us tremendously from Dorian and allow us a lot more insurance on Vanderbilt, of whom we're kind of stuck with, if I'm being honest with you. Although I think Vanderbilt can still be one of the best defenders in the league, I just don't know what I should expect from him injury-wise or offensively anymore at this point. I think we're starting to head down a path where health is something you really have to question with him. But, all in all, I look at that particular piece, Herb Jones, and I just say he's more reliable to just perform than Vanderbilt is at this point. And that's why he's going to cost you a lot more than maybe what you want to give up. You probably have to give up Austin Reeves to get Herb Jones. And while some people may think that makes a lot of sense, I don't think Herb Jones is. I don't think that equates to me. I don't think that equates to me. Now, if they're willing to throw in more stuff, I guess we can throw in Austin if we inclined to trade him. But I don't think it makes much sense for the New Orleans Pelicans, based on their situation, to then take back Austin Reeves while giving up too much. And that's ultimately why I think the stalemate would come into play. It just don't make much sense for either team to really part with what is necessary. Austin Reeves, because he makes so little money, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for teams to give up what he's worth in a trade for him. You're likely going to be sending out draft equity to the Lakers to make up for the cash difference in the talent of whatever the player you would be getting back if you're the Lakers actually is. Because Austin Reeves is making dirt cheap money, so likely you're going to send out Austin and bring back some role player or something like that, you know what I mean? And so the Lakers would then have the leverage to ask for draft equity. So most teams don't see any fruit in doing that. And I think that's the hurdle in trying to shop Austin out there, is getting back something that makes sense for him. That's why I think Herb Jones would likely be a reasonable one, because I think Herb is making the type of money that can almost make that make sense for the Lakers. But the problem is, not quite. If you're assessing it from my eyesight, based on how Austin's been playing, not quite. Based on Austin's star power, not quite. And based on Austin's ability to have stayed healthy. Obviously, he had the injury issue with the foot in the playoffs this year, but he's a very durable player. Historically, he's a very durable player. So, he played 82 games the year before that. So I take that into account when I'm shopping Austin on top of everything else, including his incremental improvement and his ability to mesh with players that kind of do the same thing he does. I value Austin at a level that's much higher than pretty much anybody who's making the same money he is. So any trade that involves Austin Reeves, if we're not throwing the other stuff in to make it make sense, if you're trying to do it straight up for Austin Reeves, I don't think there are too many players out there at all that you can make that happen and feel good about it if you're the Lakers. So, yeah, I don't think the Lakers are going to move Austin Reeves. I think they would probably much rather negotiate with him and then have him with Luka post LeBron, which looks as imminent as ever. I ain't talk too much about LeBron going anywhere, because at the end of the day, it's up to him. It's up to him. And I just don't know that he sees it in his best interest to leave the Lakers. It could be perceived as him quitting on the Lakers. He has his history, the historical ramifications of what happens there. And if he goes to another organization and he doesn't win after quitting, quote unquote, on the Lakers, it could look extremely bad on him. He don't want to be a journeyman any more than he already has. And I think he wants to retire in LA. I do. I think that he will settle for a reunion with Cleveland or Miami or something like that to have a farewell tour if it comes to that. But if it's, if you look at where he spent the majority of his career, it's actually been in LA. That's the irony of the whole thing. He didn't spend more than 8 years in Miami or Cleveland. He didn't spend as much time there as he did here. This is the closest thing to a home that he's actually had as it pertains to stability. Now, of course, that was by choice, but it is what it is. I don't think he wants to leave the LA Lakers. I think he likes living in Los Angeles. I think the fact that his son is here makes it a much more difficult thing for him to maneuver around, because you don't want to have your son's career be in the balance based on your choices. And so that could be a real thing for him. You don't know how much security his son will have if he's traded to another team, if they happen not to trade Bronny. The Lakers' situation with Bronny could be in the balance in a lot of different ways. If he does get traded to another team with Bronny, does he have the leverage to keep Bronny around in, say, Miami or Cleveland? Would they honor that the same way that the Lakers have been willing to? So it's a lot of things that are up in the air. And I think if I'm LeBron James, I would want Bronny to be able to kind of take the training wheels off of his career before I make any decisions that could ultimately backfire on him. At least to make it so that when you do make a break from the Lakers, Bronny is now an intricate piece that has value to the Lakers. That's just how I would look at it if I'm a Pops. Like, I want him to be able to at least have his own merit in this league, to be able to get a role in the NBA without my merit. And I don't know that we're there yet. He hasn't developed into that yet. And so I think that's also something that you have to consider. What happens to Bronny if LeBron does the wrong thing to the wrong people? And so if Bronny could turn into a Marcus Smart-like piece or something like that, Eric Bledsoe or something like that, then suddenly Bronny can stand on his own merit and still be valued in this league as a piece. And I think he will get there. But I don't doubt that it's some concern that he's not there yet, and that people just wave Bronny or use Bronny against LeBron in different situations. You don't want to really toy with that if you're LeBron James, in my opinion. I could be wrong though. They got the leverage of clutch behind them that might give them all they need, but it's still kind of tricky. So yeah, I don't think Bron's going anywhere. If he does go somewhere, he ain't going to Dallas. Dallas talking about they are only interested in a buyout situation. It does not benefit the Lakers in any way to buy LeBron out under any circumstance. It's one of the things that we're most concerned about is losing value upon retiring. So why the hell am I buy him out? There's zero chance he's getting bought out. And I think Dallas, I don't know. I don't really know what they're thinking when they say stuff like that. I really don't. No one's buying LeBron James out, not if they got any damn sense. Even if you can only get for him a few role players, you still want to get something for LeBron James. You do not. And if not, if you're going to go that route and just be comfortable with not getting anything for him, then what's in your best interest from a business standpoint is to have him retire in your uniform. So if I'm committed to not getting anything in return for LeBron James, if I'm Walter, he's retiring a Laker. I'm not going to buy him out. That makes absolutely no sense. And so, yeah, I don't see that happening. If he does agree to be traded, it'll likely be for not a whole lot of stuff, but I would want some draft equity in return if I'm the Lakers. I don't doubt that we have to be very careful not to ignore Luka's win now timeline. But I think in terms of return for LeBron James, if I'm doing something like that, I'm taking back salary matches and stuff like that, what I'm going to need is at least a first-round pick or two. And I don't know how realistic that would be, so that could get in the way as well if I'm trying to negotiate a trade. Not to mention that LeBron has so much leverage because he has that no-trade clause. So he may not be willing to go certain places without certain pieces being in place, as to which more draft equity would likely be on the table when you consider it. You know, if, for example, you trade LeBron to, say, Dallas, and he says, I want to play with Klay Thompson. Well, now I got to take back something of salary that isn't even as good as Klay Thompson in theory. Right? So what does that mean? Just like we said in regards to trading away Austin Reeves, if I'm bringing back less on the player side, I need to make more come back on the draft equity side. So that's what ultimately gets in the way as well when you consider all of this. And so I don't know. I think the Lakers could get a very pleasing return. I'm not going to say a massive return, but a very pleasing return for LeBron James because he still has a lot of cash equity leverage, or value is the word, not leverage, but value to owners. At the end of the day, if you're a team like Sacramento, or you're a team like Milwaukee, or you're a team like Orlando, or you're a team, a small market team, even Cleveland, when you talk about bringing in LeBron James, you're not just talking about what he's going to do on the basketball floor. You're talking about how you're going to sell out arenas every night. For the foreseeable future, sell out arenas in other areas as well because of his presence on your team. Your ability to sell merchandise and sell other things that have to do with your team. It just raised the overall value of your team even now at 40 years old. There's people still going to come from all over the world to watch him play anywhere in the world. So when you have that being the case, that's still a great deal of realized value that needs to be accounted for when you're trading away this piece. And I would caution the Lakers, if you do get involved in a trade like that, to make sure you know exactly what that's costing you, what that's worth to you, before making a trade of a 40-year-old superstar. Because he's not a 40-year-old superstar. He's literally considered the greatest of all time by an entire generation of people. So if you're going to trade him away, know what type of cash value is made up in areas that don't have nothing to do with basketball. And make sure that the other team pays for that, is what I would tell the Lakers. So the likelihood that LeBron James gets traded away based on that problem alone, I think is very, very unlikely. Because now when we start having conversations about what that's worth, the other side of the negotiation table is going to try to get that value for free. They're going to be like, nah, he's 40 years old. He can only help me with so much. And I'm going to tell you, you can make $2 billion off him being in your uniform, just playing a couple of games, just being a part of your team. People are going to come see him just sit down even if he's hurt. People are going to fill out the arena more so than if he's not on the team. So that blurred line of value alone can make it so that it becomes very difficult to trade LeBron James in theory if both GMs and owners actually have some sense about what it is I'm talking about there. So yeah, I don't think he gets traded. I don't think so. Not if people have any sense. Now, if these two stupid owners and GMs, yeah, for sure, he get traded for anything. But two owners that know what the hell they're doing, nah, they're not. It's not going to be an easy thing trading LeBron James. It's not. It's not going to be easy to try to figure out what he's worth right now, and it ain't going to be easy to agree upon it, even when you do figure it out. So that's my point of view. I just don't think it happens. I really don't. Based on what I understand about negotiations and things like that, if people know what they're doing, he becomes very difficult to place a price tag on, even at 40 years of age. So, for the sake of media conversations, yeah, he's going to Dallas. For the sake of what's real, I don't think Walter's moving LeBron James. Hell no, I don't think so. New ownership, man's worth of what? Several $100 billion. He knows how to make money. He knows what's going to give him the most opportunity to make money. There's no one in this NBA right now that's more lucrative than LeBron James, other than maybe Wembanyama going forward or something like that. Other than that, there's no greater cash cow for the Lakers. Luka the Don, who they already have in place. Like, there's not many players that even bring that type of revenue or that type of attention to your franchise. So to move him for what? I heard, like, if it was Dallas, PJ Washington and Derek Lively, no, that's not real. That's not real. That's not real. If LeBron James were whatever, somebody else, ex-players about to be retired, that would be something. But if you talk about how much you're going to be leaving on the table from a cash cow standpoint, getting people to sit down in your arena standpoint, jersey selling standpoint, that is an awful trade. It's an awful trade. You're going to lose billions of dollars doing that. So no one's doing that. So that's pretty much what I got to say about that. I appreciate everybody for watching BDF 44. I'm out.